So today's lesson is avoidance. It's just, yeah, ridiculous. So for Kleshas, I've got my notes actually, I can read you a little bit about what they're about. Cause you always get a paraphrase of what the Kleshas are about, and I don't know if you're like, I don't know how I've ever got through my accountancy exams. Well, actually, I did. When I used to do the accountancy exams, I crammed. It was in my head. I knew it for the day, and then it fell out of my head again. So it's like you're the closest I remember it. It's how it feels and stuff. But honestly, I'm not remembering anything else. So basically, the Kleshas are states of mind that cause suffering, and it comes from Buddhism. So how it is written is basically, so today's theme is avoidance. Avoidance is the suffering from pain that has not yet arisen. So you would never remember that. I'm not going to put it at the end of the lesson. I kind of find that when I start talking about avoidance, when you're relaxing, it just sounds like you're getting it yourself. So I'm just going to talk about it at the beginning of the lesson. So avoidance to me is, so all the Kleshas are basically, what have I looked at? I've looked at ego, so identifying too much with a particular aspect. So I mean, this week we've had such a great ego to observe on the news, haven't we? Like Boris Johnson's ego is just immense. But you know, he is the big I am, and then like someone said, sorry, you can't be the Prime Minister anymore, and it's like totally deflated and it's caused him suffering. He's identified too much with what what he's created of himself, and so classic sign of what ego is. I mean, you can also look at him and think of ignorance as well, that it's like his way or my way or the highway kind of thing, and not kind of seeing other aspects and other ways of being, and again that can cause misery. Last week I looked at lust and attachment, and so with that one it's seeking too much pleasure in your life. You've got to have a look with this move, and I mean, like with things like lust and attachment, like one of the easiest things to think about if you're lusting after something, how it can derail your life. Like for example, if you've been told to eat healthily and then you like just go past the shop and there's a sausage roll in the window, you're like, oh, and then you eat it and then you've fallen off your diet and then you feel really annoyed with yourself. And in my case at the moment, mine's just I've got diabetes. There's something going on with my sugars. I think it's because I'm getting older. It could also be to do with exercise. I'm undecided, but whenever I eat carb, my sugars shoot up. So, and I've been bad today. I've had some porridge. That's so bad. But right now, this little reader on my arm is saying your sugars are sky high. So anything basically at the moment that gives me pleasure, I can't eat. I'm having to just wait. I've been eating like a Henry VIII all week. I've just been eating chicken legs. So I get up, what do you want for breakfast? I'll have a piece of chicken, thank you very much. And so just having a piece of toast completely derails my body and like sends the sugars up. So lusting after things sometimes can derail harmony within the body and within your life. And Kleshas, this avoidance one, is sometimes this one I think is just more like looking deep within yourself. Like if you're avoiding something, you've got to look at the reason why. Avoiding conflict, and sometimes it's fronting up to things. So I can't really say any more than that, but I think more than avoiding, if you're avoiding something, it's just something to be introspective of and kind of listen to why and pick your brains away in the reason why, and from that we can grow. So that's the Klesha kind of explained, and then the way I'll shoehorn it into the class is by saying you can avoid certain postures, and that's about as good as it gets. So we'll start by lying down. So make yourself comfortable. And I'm just now thinking that, I've got a few people avoiding the class today. They totally know that I was going to teach it, and so I thought, we'll put avoidance into action and we'll just not come. That sounds like I'm beaming, I'm making a joke. So settle down, close your eyes, and begin to sense the space that you occupy on the floor. So if you could kind of picture yourself almost like you're having an out-of-body experience, and you could float up and turn around and look down at yourself on the floor, what would your image look like? So would your shoulders be level? Would your nose be turned to the left or the right, or facing directly upwards? Would your hips be level? Would your legs be wide? Would your legs be together? Would your toes be turned outwards, upwards, inwards? Are your palms turned towards the ceiling, or are they turned outwards? And then going into the bones, kind of notice how they all feel. Notice how the shoulders plug into the body, how the hips plug into, the legs plug into the hips. And then beginning to notice the curve of the head, the swell of the shoulders, the curve of the hips. And then kind of tuning into the weight of the legs and feeling them on the floor. How do they feel this morning? And then moving inwards into our pranamaya kosha, our breath body. And just, notice how your breath feels this morning. Where it sits, where it rises, where you can feel it, all those things you connect to your breath. And then once you've done that, begin to notice your mind and the activity. And then send your focus down to your feet. Excuse me. Excuse me again, my sneeze is generally coming too, so sorry. I'd like to widen out your toes and then scrunch your toes up. And then I was doing the next thing, standing, but so you can kind of imagine this is done as a standing posture, just because the only way I can explain the direction of it is, can you point your big toes towards, away from the floor, or like towards your face maybe? And then can you point your big toes down and lift your other toes up? So if you're doing this on the floor, your big toes will be pressing into the floor. And can you switch that round? So your other toes kind of curl and your big toes lift up. And then can you press your big toes down and lift your other toes up? Just kind of find a little way to wiggle that movement around, waking up different parts of the feet. And then let that movement go, give the toes a wiggle, and then point the toes forwards, and then point the toes towards your face. And if you could do this by like pressing your heels into the floor, and from that position, imagine you wanted to press your toes into the floor. So rather than sliding your feet, keep your heels pressed and press your toes forwards. You should therefore from there kind of feel your legs flatten a little bit. And then keeping your heels pressed, draw your toes towards your face and your knees should bend. And then keep your heels pressed into the floor. You're kind of rolling over the ankle rather than sliding. Pointing and pressing your feet. And just allow that movement to go up into the knees, up into the hips. And you can then start to notice your pelvis kind of joins in. Your back begins to join in. And you get a really lovely little flow of motion coming up from your feet. I don't know about you, but I tend to find I've got a dominant leg, so what I'd like to do is just quieten the dominant leg and just do the least dominant leg. And if you don't really notice it, that you've got a dominant leg, just pick any leg. You're doing that same movement. And then let the other leg kind of take over. And then do both legs, and it might kind of feel a little bit more joined up in feel. Okay. So from there, circle your feet. And then we'll take the knees into the belly as we do. And firstly, cross your ankles, widen out your knees, and place your hands on your knees. And then if you were just to move your knees with your arms and your hands, you could begin to circle your knees. And by circling your knees, you then get a lovely flow of movement up into your pelvis, into your back. So you're circling your knees with your arms and kind of massaging into your back. then from there, uncross your feet and then take your feet upwards to the ceiling and just notice how in doing that the kneecaps draw up and the kneecaps widen. And kind of tuning into the yin-yang effect of the muscles here. So as you extend the legs up, the kneecaps draw up because the quads are tightening. And as you straighten, bend the knees, the quads lengthen. And as you push the heels up and the kneecaps draw up, the hamstrings lengthen. And as you bend the knees, the hamstrings shorten. So just tune into that little yin-yang effect of the bend and straighten of the legs. So we'll drop the feet down into the floor, knees are bent. And then think of leveling up your pelvis. And we're going to then extend our right leg to the ceiling. And then lower the right heel down to the floor. Keep the leg straight. And then again raise the right leg up to the ceiling, keeping the leg straight. And you can witness in the movement from your pelvis. So to raise that leg up, you have a hip flexor. It is tightening to lift the leg up like a pulley. And to lower the leg down, that hip flexor is lengthening. So just tune into the movement in your hip. You might be able to get a good sense of what muscles are working to lift the leg. And then what we're going to do now is a bit mean, is to look down towards the knees with your eyes, and possibly your nose as well. And I want you to level up your right knee next to your left knee. So you can hold that there just for a little while if you want. You can always bring that knee in towards the body if you want. But I'm going to hold that there for 10 breaths. So that right leg is at a diagonal, pointing off into the distance. That left knee is bent. And I'm just kind of see how that feels. So again, you can always drop it down, bend the knee if you wish. But again, I'm just staying there for 6 more breaths. Slowly lower the right heel to the floor, slowly as you can. Feeling as you do that, the right hip flexor is lengthening as you go. Let the leg rest on the floor for a moment. Let all that movement go. Just feel the hips soften. And then I'd like you to look down towards your left knee. We're going to raise that right heel again, that right knee again, and then we're going to draw a circle this time. So we're going to get the right knee level with the left knee. And then we're going to take that right leg out to the side a little bit, lower it down towards the floor, and you're drawing a circle. But that right knee is never going to go higher than your left knee. So it's a really mean circle, I'll say. But what I found this week is I've got a few little spaces in my hip that kind of hurt, and it's getting less painful. So I'm finding little muscles that I've ignored. So again, this is all about, not about big meanness, it's actually more about just really trying to recruit muscles and find stability in those hips. So again, that right knee never lifts higher than the left knee. Okay, so from here, we'll cross that right ankle over onto the left knee. And then we can find a way to bring ourselves into a pigeon pose. So that pigeon pose is bringing the left knee in towards the body and holding onto it. Or it might just be that having the leg crossed is completely sufficient to relax the right hip. It could be that you might sit up and straighten out your left leg and just kind of rest that right leg across it. And again, that's a nice alternative to pigeon if being on the floor is too much. So whatever pigeon you've gone for, just feel the weight of the hip, have a little roll around. And then we're going to take the left foot, place it on the floor, keep your right ankle and your right heel where it is. Widen out your arms and then take your knee over to the left. So you're going to find that your left thigh comes towards the floor. You might find that the toes of your right foot meet the floor. You might find that the sole of the right foot meet the floor. I'd like you to keep your right knee standing up. So if your right knee kind of falls in towards the body, see if you can find a way to push that right knee forwards towards the left knee. And this then creates a really interesting kind of twist and side bend kind of, it's a very odd movement. So your pelvis is rotated, but there's a sensation from the right knee right into the right hip, down the right side waist. And we then from here can just let our arms surrender. And just try your very best to let the left knee be heavy, to let the right foot be heavy, and to allow that right knee to press forward. Well, let's stand our feet up, place the feet back down onto the floor. So this time we have both knees bent. And then extend the left foot up and again slowly lower it down towards the floor. Keep the legs straight, raising it up towards the ceiling. Keep the legs straight. And you're just kind of witnessing the movement. Again, it's starting in the hips. Get a good sense of the pulley action in the hip to raise the leg, to lower the leg. So as you now look down towards your knees, I'd like you to level up your left knee with your right knee, and the toes of the left foot are kind of pointing at a diagonal from the hip. And again, you can keep it here or you can lower it down, but we're just going to try to keep that there for 10 breaths. And then slowly lower the leg to the floor. Again, getting a good sense of those muscles in the hip lengthening to lower the leg to the floor. Let it rest, feel the body soften. And then we're going to again look down to the right knee, raise the left leg, but that left knee doesn't go higher than the right, and then you're going to draw a circle. And each time you come up to the top of the circle, that left knee doesn't go higher than the right. My goodness, this is really hard. I've got a very weak left leg compared to my right. Okay, so we're now going to cross the left ankle over onto the right knee and find a pigeon that works for us. So the right leg can come in for a hug, maybe take your hand around the back of the hamstring. You might be sitting up and straightening out that right leg and just kind of resting your left knee across it and just seeing how that feels as a movement. So let's place the right foot down onto the floor, keep the left foot where it is, tip the right knee across to the right, and as you do that again you might find that the toes of the left foot meet the floor, the entire sole of the left foot meet the floor. They might not meet the floor at all, but I'd like you to keep that left knee standing up so it kind of falls in towards the belly. Like imagine your foot is on the floor, you can have that foot standing up. And then try your very best to relax the right leg and just let your arms fall away from the body. So it's a slight twist, but to me it feels more of a sense of length down the left side into the left knee. In fact, there's a pose called half Lord of the Fishes. It's kind of a reclining version of that. middle, bring your knees in towards your belly, and then we're going to roll up to seated. We're going to go straight forwards. This week I've managed to not get everybody to go straight forwards and then being very confused as to why everybody's facing the back of the room. So we'll go into child's pose first. And then we're going to rise up, come down onto tummies. And then we're going to roll over onto our right side. So from where you are, then you've got your head at the front of the mat. So that's the sequencing. Well done, me. So the right knee is out in front of you, so you can rest on it. And then your left leg, I would like you to lengthen it down towards the end of the mat. And I'd just like you to rest your hand on your pelvis, so you're kind of holding your pelvis in your hand. And this is just so you can keep your pelvis from rolling over onto it, tipping forwards or tucking, basically. So lift your left foot up off the floor, and in doing that, you might kind of feel that left leg in the hip socket. And I want you to kind of feel like you're drawing that hip socket, that leg deep into the hip socket. So you're recruiting those muscles down the side of the hip to draw that leg in. And then we're going to take that leg out in front of us. So try not to let your pelvis tilt or press back or round. And then we'll take that leg back to the end of the mat. So keep the leg straight, keep the leg the heel away from the floor. And then again, we're going to take the leg out in front of us. So in doing that, we're not letting the belly round, not letting the belly shorten. Keep the spine out of the story. And then again, take the leg to the end of the mat. So you're going to take that leg out in front of you. Spine is nice and still. Really kind of feeling that movement is from the hip joint. And then from here, we'll drop the leg into the floor. So what we've just done here is we're kind of finding our IT band down the side of that leg. We're going to inhale, raise the leg, feel those muscles on the side of the hip working, and then take the leg to the end of the mat. And then we're going to just let that foot go behind us a little bit. Keep the leg straight, and then from here, relax the leg. Let the knee fall into the floor. We're going to inhale, raise the leg again, so that shin is parallel. Squeeze the muscles of the hip inwards. Take the leg forwards. Again, the leg is parallel, and then lower it to the floor. And then again, inhale, raise the leg, and then take it to the end of the mat. And just take it a little bit behind, and then lower it to the floor. Take your leg to the end of the mat, and we're just going to change tack a little bit. We're going to use the side of the leg this time. Take that heel upwards towards the ceiling, so you're widening out your leg like a scissor. And then lower the leg towards the floor. And again, raising that leg up towards the ceiling like a scissor, and then take it down towards the floor. So you're utilising those outside muscles of the leg into the hip joint to raise that leg up, and then again to lower that leg down. And again to raise that leg up, and to lower that leg down. And then we can draw a circle with that leg. So take the leg forward, circle it up, take it back. Like I've turned into a Pilates teacher. And then we'll relax that leg and roll down onto tummies. So settle down onto your tummy, let your nose tuck under the body. And then slide your nose forwards and keep lifting up into your cobra pose. Just press down into your hands. We've done a little bit of somatics this morning in today's class, and we're just going to try a little bit more out. So we're going to notice how our cobra feels. We're going to come down and make it feel a whole lot better. So what I'd like you to do now is to place your right hand on the floor under your head. Turn your head to look to your right elbow. Drop your head down onto your hand and take your left arm down the side of your body. So you're kind of looking at your right hand, like that. So you've got your left arm down the side, looking at your right elbow. So it kind of looks a little bit like that. So if you imagine me lying down, so it's like you're saluting, but you've got your head on your hand. So you're going to lift your right elbow away from the floor, so it kind of looks like that. You lift your right elbow away from the floor by squeezing your right shoulder. So it's kind of like that. So you're taking the right elbow away from the floor by squeezing the right shoulder. and then drop it back down again. That's it. So that right elbow lifts because the shoulder is tightening and releasing. And then we've done that a few times. We're going to keep our hands on the elbow on the floor, but this time you lift your head up and then you drop it back down again. Is your elbow not right at the floor? Yeah, there you go, there's the elbow. I think oh, maybe it won't. And then drop it back down again. So you put your elbow and your hand on the floor as you lift your head up. And you're kind of sensing the muscles in the back of the neck that are tightening to lift it up. Okay, so you keep your head on your hand next. And we're going to lift the elbow and then the head in the hand. And then come back down again. So you're going to lift the elbow and then the head in the hand and come back down again. As you come down, notice your left buttock. Notice, oh, you can hear me. I didn't know if you could hear me at that. That's it. So notice your left buttock. Every time you come down, your left buttock switches off. So you kind of always think like Battenberg for this one. But when you cut open the Battenberg cake, you've got the pink opposite to the yellow. So you kind of got that going on in your body right now. Two opposing forces working in harmony together. So the next time you come down onto the floor, I'd like you to lift your left leg up away from the floor and then drop that back down. So what's happening right now is your left buttock is working in harmony with the right side of your body. So lift your left leg up and drop your right and then drop it back down again. So now we're going to take in the top side of the body. So see how you feel then about lifting the right elbow, the head in the hand and that left leg together. And then come back down slowly and relax. Right shoulder, right elbow, head and hand, left leg, they come up together. And then again, slowly come back down. Feel all those muscles relaxing as you come down. Let the ground support the body. And then one more time. Right shoulder, elbow, head and hand, float up. And then sink back down again. Turn your head to look to the left this time. And then take your head onto your left hand. And drop your right hand down the side of the body. So you're now looking at your, what is it called? Your left elbow. Sorry, I just realised Alison's disappeared. And so, starting with the elbow, lift the elbow up. And then drop it back down again. So that movement is coming from the shoulder. Movement is coming from the shoulder. So feel the elbow lifting because the shoulder is engaging. And then again, drop it back down again. And then again, the elbow is lifting because the shoulder is engaging. Again, drop it back down again. Fantastic. So from there, again, relax the elbow down. And then lift just the head up. Again, as you're doing that, you're kind of feeling what is happening through the shoulders, from the head. And then drop it back down again. Just in your own time, you lift the head up. Feel the neck tighten. And then again, drop it back down again. And again, in your own time. And as you breathe, and then the next time we move, we're going to lift the elbow, the head and the hand together. And again, soften back down. The elbow, the head and the hand together. And as you do that, notice that the right buttock relaxes each time you come down. So again, like that Battenberg cake thing again. Those two colours working in harmony. Top left, bottom right. And so we're going to pause and then lift just the right leg up. And then drop it back down again. So you're just going to lift just the right leg up. And drop it back down again. And then just the right leg up. And drop it back down again. And then from there, bring those movements together. So the left elbow, the head in the hand, and the right leg. Slowly come down, let the movement go. The left shoulder, the left elbow, the head in the hand, and the leg, and again, slowly come back down again. And just one more time in your own rhythm. And then as you come down next, we're going to see how that has changed our cobra. So slide your hands back around toward the side of your body. Slide your nose forwards, rise up into your cobra. Keep pressing into your hands, rising up, and hopefully your cobra feels a little bit happier about being a cobra. So let's sink down, and I haven't forgotten about the opposite side of the body. We're going to now roll over onto our left side. Bring your left knee forwards and take your right leg to the end of the mat. I'm just concerned that Alison's now stuck in some kind of weird world where she can't access Zoom. So, what are we doing? We're going to take that right leg and lift it off the floor, so you kind of want to feel that you're sucking all those muscles into the hip joint. Oh, she's had to leave. Okay. So you want to kind of feel those muscles working the hip joint. So that right leg is going to kind of come away from the floor. You want it to kind of be relatively parallel. Your hand is holding the pelvis just so it can witness what it's doing. So from here, you're going to take that right leg forwards, again, feeling all those muscles in the hip, recruiting it, asking it to stay put, and then take it back to the end of the mat. And then again, take that right leg forwards, keeping that leg from dropping into the floor. And then take it back to the end of the mat. You're trying your very best to keep your pelvis upright, to keep your spine nice and still. Take that right leg forwards. And then drop the foot into the floor, let everything go. So again, what we're doing here is that right side hip into IT band is getting tightened and released. Lifting that leg up so it's parallel to the floor, sweep it to the end of the mat and just take it slightly behind you this time. And then relax the leg. And then again, raise that leg up, taking the leg forwards in front. And then again, relax the leg. Taking it out in front to the end of the mat, and then you're going to take it up to the ceiling and then down again. So just thinking about those muscles on the side of the hip, tightening to raise the leg up like a scissor, and then back down again. And again, up towards the ceiling like a scissor, and then back down again. And then draw a circle with that leg. Fabulous. So from here, roll over onto your belly. We're not doing all that lovely movement again for your back. What we will do this time is use our hands to push ourselves up and to sink down into child's pose. So let your bottom feel heavy, let your hands come forward, let your forehead sink to the floor, let everything go. So how does your child feel? That sounds like a really weird thing, but does it feel like you've got really heavy hips? Does it feel like your back's a little bit longer? I know we all haven't got the same mobility, but you might just kind of sense it a little bit more. You might kind of feel less tension in the lower back. So from here, let's rise up to all fours and take ourselves into undulating cat-cow. So your hands are under your shoulders, your knees are under your hips. You're going to look up to the ceiling, lift your tailbone. And then look down towards your knees, let your tailbone drop, really go into the length of the back. Feel the length of the back. Notice how your tummy is tightened to create space down the length of your back. And then from here, lift your tailbone, looking slowly forwards. Feel how you create space. Basically from collarbone to pubic bone. It certainly works something, I've done it that. And then look down towards your knees. Again, really tune into the length of your spine. And again, lifting your tailbone and you're looking forward, really tuning into the length of the front of your body. So, the next time you look up, drop your bottom to your heels. So this is cow, and it's a cow that's sitting down. Once you sit down, look down, round your spine, so drop your tailbone, and I kind of wound round there, widen my shoulders, and I feel like I'm going to pounce. So I'm going to come up very slowly, lifting my bottom away from the heels, and then when I get to all fours, I lift my tailbone and move into my cow pose. And then take the bottom down to heels. And then as I arrive at my heels, look down, round the spine, tuck the tailbone, kind of get that sense of pounce, and then rise up. And then again, as you sink back down, sink your bottom back. And then from here, we can move into dog. So you're going to just push with your hands lightly, lift your knees, and rise up and look back towards your feet. And so however you've gone into your dog, first just tune into how you're carrying your dog. Do you favour one side of your body? Notice your right side, the weight through your hands and the leg. And then onto your left side of your body. Do you favour one side of your body there? Can we make that dog a little bit more even? And then we're going to take ourselves towards a fold. So walk your feet inwards towards your feet. Take a little bow, finally standing up. And then we're going to rise to standing. So as you rise to standing, tuck your tailbone under and keep going until you are in a back bend. Taking your hands towards the ceiling and then roll down towards a fold. We're going to just go into a little sun salutation. Inhaling, half fold. Exhaling, hands to floor. Walk yourself back into plank pose. Coming down however you want. Slide the nose, rising up. Pushing up and back into downward facing dog. Only 3 breaths here today. And then looking at your hands, stepping back into fold. Inhale, half fold. Exhale, full fold. Inhale, rise up. And again, back bend. And rolling back down again. Inhale, half. Exhale, full. Walking back one more time into plank. Elbows bend, coming down, or whatever way you've chosen. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, move back to downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Taking a look at your hands, walking forwards back into fold. Inhale, half. Exhale, full. Rising up, and then from here we're going to move ourselves towards tiptoes. So the tailbone is going to go back over the heels, legs begin to straighten, settling into the bones, bringing hands to heart. We're going to go up onto tiptoes. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. Inhale, up. Keep lifted. Bend your knees. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, come back down. Inhale, up. Exhale, knees. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. Inhale, up. Exhale, knees. Keep them bent. Stay here 5 breaths. So pelvis upright, knees forward, feel the toes. I tend to find that when I've looked at this week, I don't know if you've ever watched things like Shaun the Sheep, and when the sheep are cold, the legs are all wobbling there, and I've just seen lots of kind of wobbling ankles, mine included. So from here, we're going to slowly lower the heels. Ooh, keep yourself in chair pose through the top of the body. So pelvis is tilted, tummy is long. Look down to your toes. If you can't see them, you're going to bring those knees back over the ankles. Bring your hands to pelvis and ribs, and we're going to fold. So I want you to tilt the pelvis, bottom reaches back. Bend the knees, sit deeper into chair. Bringing hands to heart if you feel comfortable, or hands to thighs if that feels better, or hands forwards like you're holding a box. Squeeze the heels together a little bit. Keep bending the knees till you're down in a fold, and then inhale, straighten the legs. Exhale, going back into plank pose. Coming down however you like. Rising up, cobra. And going back into downward facing dog. Looking towards your right hand, take your right foot towards the right hand, bend and crest, rise up. So, the different versions of warrior. That's it. So ground firstly your left heel and your feet are both forwards. And then you're witnessing your pelvis. So that's, oh gosh, don't fall. Make yourself comfortable. You've got your heel on that little cushion. So if you want to ground that heel, I would go for that. I don't need to topple. And then, so find the stability firstly through your feet. So again, what are they doing? Do you feel stable? Where is your pelvis? Bring your hands to heart and just kind of rest here if you want. And then, so you could just kind of really use this as a way to release into that left calf. You don't have to do anything else. But you might want to bring a little bit of strength into it by bending the right knee and taking that right knee over ankle. And for me, again, I'm just feeling like, I'm not thinking I've got to take this into a full-on yoga pose, look amazing. Feeling the stability through the knee, into the hip, those muscles working in harmony. And then we have the option of sliding the left heel back and pushing away to deepen sensations in the left hip. Or you can dip the left knee, which is what I love doing, don't I? So again, that knee stays over ankle. And then we can take the hands up. So again, kind of use it to balance. How do you feel? Push in with your right foot to cross your left ankle over, bringing your hands to heart. So balancing through your right leg. So keep the toes of your left foot on the floor. That's it. So you're just changing your centre of gravity. So this could be the balance with the toes on the floor. You might kind of want to play with your centre of gravity by taking that left foot behind, bringing it forwards. That's actually more tricky than tree. You might want to take that foot and leave it there. You might want to take the foot a little bit higher and press the knee out. You might want to bend your right knee a little bit. So if you're standing with those toes on the floor, again, you could bend that right knee and kind of just challenge with those toes on the floor a little bit. It feels really, I don't know, I feel like I'm really stable that way. Carry on. Okay, so from there, we're going to take that left foot forward, step it back to move into warrior. I'm a bit into warriors at the moment, I don't know why. So you're looking out towards your right foot. Your left foot is turning towards the long end of your mat. You're opening out your hands and you're radiating out through those fingers. Spread your fingers. Imagine you've got little laser beams firing out. I don't know. I lost what I'm trying to say. Reaching back through your left hands. And just by spreading those hands to me, I kind of feel it all along the arm, into the shoulders, into the chest, the sense of space. And then we're going to bend the right knee. So begin to bend it. But as you do that, really kind of feel that you're still leaning into that left leg behind, that left leg acts as a pivot and some secure kind of device in which to keep us from falling. Turn your left heel in and bend your left knee and peel the toes of your right foot away from the floor, bringing that weight backward. Coming back to warrior two. Lower your left hand onto your left thigh, and then again bend the right knee and take your right hand down onto your right thigh. So you can lean over, but I want you to firstly just kind of maybe take the fingertips off that right thigh, bend the right knee, and just see if you can lean without using your hands. Can you do that? If it doesn't like it, then by all means take that hand down and start to take your weight over, your shoulder over that leg. And then you're going to raise your left hand towards the ceiling, so you can now bring that elbow down, spread your fingers, My analogy this week has been ruined. So my analogy this week has been, imagine you're on question time, you've got a question for Boris Johnson about what he's been doing, and actually he's left, so just raising your hand now for the sake of it. Spread your fingers, but you can really feel from that middle finger down to your left elbow, down into your right elbow, right down into your right foot, the sense of space that you're creating through the body. Really reach up and open. Turn your body towards the floor and step yourself back into plank pose. Coming down however you like. Rising up through the nose and back into your downward facing dog. So you're now looking at your left hand and you're going to step your left foot through. Bend and press to rise. So then you're checking out the warrior that is there for you today. So first warrior you can do is step the right heel in, everything faces forwards, pelvis is upright, and you could just kind of do it as a straight leg warrior where you can feel that the right heel is connecting to the floor, you're creating space down the back of the right leg, you're lengthening the right calf. Or you can bring your hands to heart and kind of keep here, or you then might bend your left knee, keeping that heel on the floor. So you want to try your very best to keep your pelvis upright, lengthened up through the heart centre. You might be then sliding that right heel away and pushing, and again deepening sensations of openness through the right hip. You might be taking that right knee towards the floor. So I want you just to kind of be, honest. Where does it feel best to be? Hands rising up. I always tend to feel when you take those hands up, it feels more like you're balancing. What do you mean? So we're going to press and cross the ankle over. So keep the right heel on the floor if you need to, the right big toe on the floor if you need to. So you're balancing through that left leg. Stay there if you want. Take the heel up if you might want to. Take the leg higher and press the knee back if you want to. You could do a bit what I'm doing, but actually on purpose. Take the leg forward, take the leg behind, see how that feels. You can do it with your toes on the floor if you want to. Keep those toes on the floor if you want to. And then, like I said previously, take the foot up and take a little knee bend. So then if your toes are on the floor, you could keep those toes on the floor and bend the knee again, just see how you feel. Just to challenge the standing leg with the toes down. Really difficult this time. Okay, so stepping back, right leg goes to the back, left foot is forward. Taking your hands out, looking out towards your left middle finger. Fantastic. Bending your left knee, move into your warrior two. And as I'm doing that, I'm kind of feeling down that right leg, the sense of restfulness into the right leg. So you can allow that to be your support. Spread your fingers. Again, imagine firing out like fire and all sorts from those fingers. But feel how I'm doing that, how it connects up into the arm, across the chest, the sense of space. And the other ankle if you can, fantastic. And again, still connecting into what is, you can feel from the back leg, from the hip down into the heel, the centre support. Turn your back heel in, bend your knees, sinking your weight backwards, let the toes of your left foot come away from the floor. Moving back to our warrior two, so reposition that right foot, bringing your hands to heart, bend your left knee, and just again see how you feel about kind of leaning over, using the leg to support you. So again, you might be thinking, I'm going to now take that arm down, but you come down with control. Arm meets the thigh, And then take your right hand up, spread your fingers. Again, try your very best to reach the ceiling. As you do that, you press down with the right foot, kind of getting that sense of energy from the right foot into the right hip, into the right breastbone, right up to those fingertips, reaching for the ceiling. Sinking down into child this time. So lower your bottom down, let everything go. So move to seated and taking ourselves into a series of twists. Sorry, we start pose. What the heck does that mean? I don't know. Anyway, so oh, you're on a cushion, fantastic. So we're going to go into a couple of twists. So let's cross right leg over left. So I'm going to mirror you guys for a sec, so it doesn't look weird. Shift your sit bones underneath, and then we're going to turn around to the left. So slide your left hand around behind, fingertips come to the floor, let it turn your chest with it, and then your right hand can then begin to rest down onto your right shin. And just kind of lightly rest the arm into it, and you're turning your body to look behind you. And just see if it's possible to kind of lift your heart, press the heart forwards a little bit, so we can really feel the length through the spine. Turn your body the other way, moving into half Lord of the Fishes this time. So your right hand is going to slide behind, left hand comes around towards the right knee. Kind of pull the belly button inwards, lift up, so you're trying to want to create some space to twist. There you go, that's it. You're looking over the right shoulder. If it's available to you, slide your left heel in towards your right buttock, so coming into full pose. And again, if it isn't available to you, then don't bother. And then turn yourself to the front of the mat. So, I know that you've not got that leg underneath you, but I'd like you to, if you can lean onto your left side and bring your hands around to the left, and then you can slide that left leg underneath, just because we're going to come up with that leg behind. So if you could, it's just briefly, it's not where you're going to rest. So you're taking your hands to the left, you're lifting your bottom up, you're lifting your knee up, and you're going to plant your feet. So drop your left foot into the floor, that's it, isn't it? And then spin your feet the only way they will go, and then walk your hands in with it, and you go and drop into a fold, looking between your legs at me, and that's it, keep going, there you go, sinking into fold. If you've done it, I can see that you're there, you're just a bit of a wonky angle, that's fine. And just circle your pelvis, have a little, fiddle around, feel how that connects into your hips, through your legs. And then we're going to go the way we came, so look back towards your right foot, taking your hands around in front of your right foot, spin both feet into the direction of your hands, and then tuck your left knee behind your right shin, and you kind of pivot a little bit and you sit back down, so you're kind of where we were again. But keep, obviously, I was thinking of you to keep your weight on that left side. Whoops! Yay! It's a bit of a faff. We're going to do it again, I'm really sorry. So we're going to stand up, so lift your bottom, lift your knee, pivot your feet, spiral into your fold. Yay, there we go. Wave your bottom around in the air for a little while. And then again, look to your right, take your hands around to the right, spin your feet to face your hands, tucking your left knee behind your right shin, and kind of, again, that little sit down thing. Stay on that side again, because I'm just thinking about your hip and not liking it. You're totally there. It just takes time. Sorry, you look so tired. I'm very sorry. Oh, repeating. No, it just looks really tired. I'm just really wearing you out. No, you can. You're doing an amazing job. Right, we're gonna go up again, but we're gonna go all the way around this time. So lean into your hands, lift your hip, lift your knee, drop into your feet. Take your hands to the middle. Then take your hands around to the left. Turn your feet towards your hands. And then your right shin goes behind your left, and you sit down, and there you are. So I would advise at this point to straighten out the opposite leg. It doesn't confuse it. Your body's like absolutely, so that is avoidance. Your body's avoiding that at all costs, isn't it? So what have we got? We've got left leg crossed over right. Are you alright? Yes. Was that a step too far? No, don't worry. I was kind of hoping that what it would do is it'd be like a little bit of a wiggle, but not too much. What is this now? That's your right leg, that's your left leg. So we're kind of sitting back in our little twisting position. Got to straighten out your right leg. Yeah. I feel like that's going to take your left leg over right. Fantastic. So we're going to go into our open twist. So you're sliding your right hand out behind, your left hand moves onto the shin, and you take your gaze out behind. And then we revolve the opposite direction, so taking your right hand onto your left knee, taking your gaze over your left shoulder, so moving into half log. So if it's available to you, you're going to slide your right heel in towards your left buttocks and move in to the full pose. But if it's not available, you avoid, don't you? So come back to the theme, avoidance. So sometimes you know why you're avoiding something, sometimes there's an absolutely brilliant reason why you're avoiding something, and that is because it's just that it's going to avoid suffering in some way in your body, I guess, isn't it? And then from here, we'll take our legs out in front of us. I could make it go the other way in that horrible twist, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to avoid that. So you've got your hands on the floor behind you. So what I'd like, so I know you've got issues with your hips, so again, like I know there's things that you do tend to avoid, but I'm hoping that this would be a kind of nice way to kind of explore pigeon without pigeoning. So you've got your hands on the floor behind you, your feet are really wide, and then you're looking at your right foot, and what I'd like to do is just turn your right foot in, and what it should do is lift your hip a little bit. So that's it, leaning onto your left side, and then straighten your right leg so it comes back to neutral, and then turn the foot in. Fantastic. Pelvis turns, belly turns, and then come back. So you're only going to wherever it feels good. You're trying, you're not kind of seeking to push into anything too deep. So we can let the left foot join into the party. So turn both feet to the left. Yes, it is. Oh, and in doing that, you can twist a little bit further. You can maybe let your belly turn this time. And if you want to, you can bring both hands around onto that side. If you feel like you're going to topple, then don't bother. Keep turning your head so you're now looking over your left shoulder. And then we can spiral back. So to come back, lead with your feet. Stand your feet up and you'll feel it bring your right hip back to the floor, and then you are back on your feet. Seat bottom. Do it again. So feet are going to turn to the left. And then when it's going to feel it'll feel like an opportune moment to bring your right hand around, and then just keep turning until you are looking over your left shoulder. And then stand your feet up, feel how that brings the pelvis back to the floor, take your hands with it, and then we'll go the other way. So start with your left foot, just kind of roll that in and out, and just notice how it lifts your left hip each time you do it. Your left hip wants to come. To bring that knee to the floor, it would be a good idea. And you're kind of already starting a little twist in your body. You're already kind of noticing that your body is going around that right side. And then if you turn both feet, you'll twist a little bit more. And then stand both feet up, and again come back. So turning both feet, and then this might be when you might take your left hand off the floor and bring it around. And then just kind of follow the movement into your chest, into your neck. Turn your gaze over your right shoulder. And then from here, stand both feet up. Feel how that turning of the feet brings your left hip to the floor. And again, there you are. Turning both feet to the right. Again, feel how that knee turns, the belly turns, and you can begin to turn your body to look over the shoulder. So go with feeling, rather than thinking I have to look behind. Go with what the body is telling you. I quite like doing this with eyes closed. So go whichever way you like actually now. So I'm still staying with that side, it feels nice. So I've got my eyes closed and I'm just feeling from the feet into the knees, into the hip, how I can begin to turn my body around, and I'm not even looking this time, I'm just kind of letting the body turn, and I'm the head is turning around to that right side. And then I'm going to stand those feet up and I can feel the pelvis coming back to the floor and those hands come back to the floor, and then I'm going to go the other way, turning the feet the other way and just going with feeling. I'm not even wondering what I'm looking like. And then just maybe explore going both ways. And you can go, you can just do it a little bit. You can always come back just to rolling the feet and just seeing how that feels in your hips rather than thinking, oh, it's got to be a massive movement. Kind of play with it. Imagine you're a little kid who's just realised they've got legs and that these legs do wonderful things and carry them around, but they can also twist your hips. I mean, kids don't seem to ask for instructions, do they? Like, I always find it a marvel that children have learned to walk. And they learn from looking at us, to be fair, but they've not said, oh, and then put that leg here, and they've kind of observed it, and then they've played with it, and then before they know it, up they are, they've got the balance, and they're off. And then it might be quite nice just to kind of settle into the middle and just give your hips, your feet a little bit of a roll. It might be quite nice to stand your knees up and just let them go from side to side and see how that all feels. Ooh, heavy knees. Okay, so we're going to sit for 3 breaths, and then after that you can lie down. There's more breaths to come, but the 3 are the most important ones. So settle down, just make yourself comfortable. Saying last night in the lesson, make yourself nice and comfortable, like I'm going to say, sit down and really make yourself injured, but try your best to be comfortable. And I'd like to rest the back of one hand into the palm of the other, and then the thumbs are going to touch. And bringing your focus then down into your belly. So going through the Vasista method of pranayama, we're going to take it to Nadi Shodhana today. So starting with your belly, we're just going to take 5 breaths into the tummy, but I just really want you to witness that movement, how the belly swells and comes back in like a little balloon. We're going to pull the belly button back to the spine and keep it there, lock it in. And then once that's drawn in, we then let the breath flood up into the chest. So imagine now that balloon is now sitting behind your ribs, like the lungs, they're rising up and softening back. Relax your belly button. And just for a moment sit and witness your breath. And then we begin to circle the shoulders. So just find a way to lift them up, roll them back and drop them down. Inhale, lifting them up, rolling them back and dropping them down. Inhale, lift, roll back, drop down. 2 more times. And then relax your hands away from the body. If you want to lie down, you can lie down. But just notice, I think from those 3 breaths, you hopefully can get a really good sense that you've got lots of space to breathe, particularly up in the top of the chest. I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes if you think, I really want to take a big deep breath, it's almost like there's a little stop valve that's been switched on. But after working in that way, I think what it does, it massages and relaxes the muscles and really allows you to breathe up into the toppermost lobes of the lungs. And just enjoy the freedom into the chest. And then we move our breath now into full yogic breath. So the belly now just starts to breathe. Then we take it into the chest and then into the lungs. You might already be doing that already, but just take your time. Feel, again, all the space we have in our lungs. And then starting to let the breath catch in the throat in gentle ujjayi, so the sound of the ocean coming into your breath. And then we now begin to let the breath settle it just into its natural rhythm. And from there, you're just noticing the turnaround point at the top of the breath and the turnaround point at the bottom of the breath. And then taking your right hand and placing it on your forehead, and just maybe let the elbow rest in towards your chest. And you're just going to let your little finger rest by your left nostril and the thumb by your right nostril. And then we can begin to block the left nostril but breathe in through the right. Blocking the right, breathing out through the left. Breathing in through the left. Blocking the left, breathing out through the right. Breathing in through the right. Blocking and breathing out through the left. And just kind of play with that a few more rounds. And then let your hands rest down by your side and settle into how you feel. Personally speaking, in terms of avoidance, that is something I tend to avoid doing in my daily life, and I think that's such a shame because the breath practices are really important. They really do unite what is happening in the body with what is happening in the mind. And there could be something in your life that you do tend to avoid, which is sometimes nice to question why. And coming back just to again how you feel. You might kind of notice just by practicing those breath practices that it's almost like the noise has been turned down within the body. We can really begin to become absorbed in what is happening deep within. That we are just kind of a pool of energy held in a vessel. So kind of just listen and feel, let that energy noise be turned up. So from here we can begin to stand our feet up and bring the knees in towards the belly one by one. And then it might be nice just to place the feet back down again and kind of roll the pelvis backwards and forwards and just see how that feels as a movement. And then once that is done, to find a way to move towards seated.
Thank you. Thank you very much. No. Odd. Where's that edit button gone?